Have you ever stopped to think about why Japanese families seem to accumulate wealth so easily, while so many Americans find themselves living paycheck to paycheck? What if I told you it has far less to do with how much they earn and far more to do with principles they've quietly applied for centuries? Here's something intriguing. Warren Buffett himself has admitted that many of his wealthiest acquaintances are Japanese, and nearly all of them follow the same set of time-tested wealth-building practices. But what's really remarkable is how they grow their fortunes without flaunting them. No flashy cars, no oversized houses, none of the obvious displays of wealth we often see in America. So what's their secret? I've uncovered 10 transformative financial concepts that explain why the Japanese have mastered the art of building enduring prosperity. Think of each as a piece of an ancient puzzle. When you put them together, your entire relationship with money will shift. And the final principle? It's the most powerful of all, the one that separates those who achieve lasting financial stability from those who only look rich on the outside. I'm going to walk you through these secrets, counting down from 10 to 1, saving the most surprising for the end. Trust me, by the time we get to number 1, you'll understand exactly how Japanese families manage to grow wealth on modest incomes, all without reckless risk or overwhelming debt. Let's start with the first concept, a mindset so fundamental it can completely reframe how you think about being wealthy. If you lost every dollar you had tomorrow, how quickly could you recover? Most people assume that without money they'd be lost. But in Japan, there's a fascinating way of viewing wealth that extends far beyond what's in your bank account. It's so powerful that Warren Buffett himself said he learned it from his Japanese colleagues. In the U.S., we tend to define wealth by what we own, our homes, our cars, our investments, maybe that designer watch. But in Japan, there's a concept called invisible assets. These are things no one can ever take from you. Your skills, your network, your reputation. I'll share an example. I once met a Japanese entrepreneur who lost everything during the 2008 financial crisis. In less than a month, he had 3 job offers and multiple investors eager to work with him. Why? Because for years he had been cultivating something far more valuable than cash: trust and strong connections. Even Harvard researchers have found that people with robust, invisible assets can bounce back financially nearly twice as fast after a setback. Ask yourself, how many people could help you land a new opportunity if you needed it tomorrow? Who would lend you money without hesitation? That is your true safety net. And what's even better, while cars and houses lose value over time, your invisible assets only grow. Every skill you pick up, every relationship you nurture, every experience you gather becomes more valuable with each passing year. It's like an investment that no one can deplete and that compounds endlessly. Have you ever thought about deliberately building your own invisible assets? If this idea resonates with you, just wait until you hear about the next principle. I'm going to show you an age-old Japanese method for transforming these invisible assets into real, tangible wealth. And the best part is, anyone can start, even from zero. Have you ever looked at your bank balance and wondered, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Most Americans face this dilemma regularly. But for over a century, the Japanese have relied on a powerful habit called Kakeibo that solves this problem brilliantly. Interestingly, while we depend on budgeting apps and spreadsheets, the Japanese use something much simpler, a notebook. But don't let the simplicity fool you. Research shows that households practicing Kakeibo save, on average, 35% more than those who track expenses digitally. Why? Because writing down each purchase forces you to pause and reflect before spending. Think about it. When was the last time you felt any emotion while swiping your credit card? That's the problem. Modern payments make money feel abstract. Kakeibo pulls it back into reality. A recent survey of 1,000 Japanese families revealed that those using Kakeibo had almost no credit card debt, not because they earned more, but because they spent more thoughtfully. Every purchase had to pass 4 questions. Can I live without this? Do I already own something similar? Will this improve my life meaningfully? Can I get it cheaper elsewhere? Want to try it yourself? Get a notebook. Split your spending into 4 categories: essentials, wants, cultural or life-enhancing purchases, and unexpected expenses. For 1 week, record every single transaction. No judgment, just awareness. You'll be amazed at how many tiny, unnecessary costs you uncover. But Kakeibo isn't only about tracking money. It's about understanding your relationship with it. The Japanese believe spending reflects your priorities. Once you see those patterns clearly, real transformation begins. Speaking of transformation, the next secret completely changes how you think about what you own and how you spend. Have you ever bought something only to shove it in a closet and forget about it? Multiply that by years. The Japanese embrace a philosophy called Danshari, which reshapes how they approach money and possessions. Unlike typical financial advice focused on budgeting harder, Danshari is about being intentional with what you allow into your life. In the U.S., we're surrounded by messages urging us to buy more. Treat yourself. You deserve it. The result? Homes full of things we don't need, bought with money we don't have to impress people who don't matter. But in Japan, less truly is more. More savings, more freedom, more peace. The average American home contains around 300,000 items. Japanese households often have less than a third of that, and yet report higher satisfaction. Why? Because if something doesn't add real value, it's seen as wasteful. Here's an example. I used to buy cheap clothes constantly, thinking I was saving. Then a Japanese friend taught me about cost per use. That $100 shirt that lasts years costs less, in the long run, than 5 $30 shirts that quickly wear out. This mindset has saved me thousands. The minimalist approach isn't about deprivation. It's about being deliberate. Before purchasing, they ask, will this improve my life? Could I invest this money instead? Would I still want this in a month? Try this yourself. For 30 days, delay any non-essential purchase. Write it down and revisit it after the waiting period. You'll be surprised how many must-haves fade away. But saving is only part of the story. Next, I'll show you why Japanese families avoid credit cards and how this protects their wealth better than any investment strategy. Have you ever noticed how using a credit card doesn't feel like spending actual money? That's the core of the problem. While Americans swipe plastic for nearly every transaction, the Japanese maintain a completely different mindset, one that keeps them largely debt-free. Consider this. The average American household carries over $7,000 in credit card debt, with interest rates exceeding 20%. In contrast, only about 18% of payments in Japan happen via credit card. It's not due to lack of access. It's because they understand something we often overlook. The hidden cost of convenience is your financial freedom. There's an old Japanese saying, debt weighs more heavily than any burden you can carry. They see credit card balances as a trap that limits their options. Think about it. If you're paying 20% interest on everyday purchases, you're essentially working 1 day out of every 5 just to enrich credit card companies. Is that convenience really worth surrendering so much of your life? I once spoke with a Japanese financial coach who told me bluntly, if you need a credit card to afford something, you shouldn't be buying it. Initially, that sounded harsh, but then he showed me the math. A $1,000 purchase at 20% APR, if you only pay the minimum, can end up costing over $2,000. Suddenly, that deal doesn't look so smart. Instead, most Japanese rely on cash or debit cards. Watching physical money leave your hand triggers a mental pause that digital payments don't. Research even shows that people spend 12 to 18% less when using cash. That's like giving yourself an instant raise simply by changing how you pay. Want to experience this yourself? Try a 30-day cash challenge. Withdraw your weekly budget in cash. You'll be amazed at how differently you consider every purchase. No need to shred your credit cards. Just reserve them for emergencies or big purchases you can repay immediately. But what if you could pass this careful mindset to the next generation? In the following secret, you'll learn how Japanese families teach kids about money and why that early education leads to a lifetime of security. Have you ever wondered why almost no American schools teach kids about managing money? Instead, we hear cliches like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Get good grades and you'll be fine." Meanwhile, Japanese families approach this completely differently, giving their children a financial head start that lasts decades. Here's something remarkable. In Japan, financial lessons begin as early as age 5. No complex investment theories, just a focus on understanding money's value and purpose. While American kids often get allowances without conditions, Japanese children are taught that money should be earned by helping the family and making smart decisions. The difference is striking. Studies show that 65% of American adults live paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, Japan consistently ranks among the countries with the highest household savings rates. The reason? 3 simple principles that parents instill. Earn wisely, save consistently, invest patiently for the future. I'll share a practical example. Many Japanese parents give their kids 3 jars: spend, save, and invest. Whenever the child receives money, it gets divided. Spend is for immediate wants, save is for bigger goals, invest is never touched. It's for long-term growth. This simple system builds habits no school curriculum can replace. Want to try it with your own family? Start the 3-jar method today. But remember, don't just hand out money. Encourage your kids to earn it through age-appropriate chores or creative projects. When they're about to buy something, prompt them to ask, "Is this worth the time I spent earning it?" That question alone teaches the connection between effort, value, and spending, an understanding that endures for life. But this is just the beginning. What if you could make saving money feel almost automatic? The next secret reveals how Japanese communities help each other build wealth, and how you can do the same. Have you ever tried to save up for a big goal, only to get discouraged halfway through? You're not alone. Many people struggle to stay consistent when they're saving alone. The Japanese, however, have a centuries-old solution, the Tanomoshi system, group saving circles that create accountability and momentum. Imagine 10 people each contributing $100 monthly to a shared pot. Every month, one person receives the entire $1,000. The cycle repeats until everyone has had a turn. This approach does more than help people save. It reinforces discipline and commitment. Studies show that people saving in groups are 75% more likely to reach their targets than solo savers. I recently met a Japanese family who used this method to buy their first home. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by trying to save alone, they joined forces with 5 other families. In just 18 months, they had enough for a down payment. Even big companies in Japan are adopting similar programs to help employees build financial security. Want to try it yourself? Start small. Gather 2 or 3 friends with similar goals. Agree on a monthly contribution, say $200 each, and use a shared tracker like a spreadsheet. Meet regularly to celebrate progress and tackle challenges together. The key? Choose partners who are equally serious about building wealth. But what if you could take this collective discipline and pair it with a mindset that makes every dollar count? In the next secret, you'll discover how the Japanese practice smart frugality, and how you can too. Ever feel like no matter how much you earn, it never seems to stretch far enough? The Japanese have a concept called Mottainai, loosely translated as "don't waste." But it's not about being cheap. It's about extracting maximum value from every dollar. Here's an eye-opening statistic. The average American household wastes over $1,500 every year on unused subscriptions, wasted food, and impulse buys. Meanwhile, Japanese families excel at making their money go further without feeling deprived. Instead of asking, "How much does this cost?" they ask, "How much value will this bring me?" For example, they might spend $200 on a quality coffee machine that lasts a decade, rather than spending $4 every day at a cafe. That one decision could save more than $10,000 over 10 years, enough to grow a serious investment account. This isn't about living an austere, minimalist life. It's about thoughtful spending. Here's how you can start. Do a value audit. Look at last month's expenses and ask, Did this purchase improve my life? Could I have gotten the same benefit for less? Will this still matter to me a year from now? You'll be surprised how many expenses fail this simple test. Then, redirect that money into savings or investments. But intentional spending is only part of the puzzle. Next, I'll share a straightforward Japanese system for organizing your money. So simple, it can transform even the most disorganized spender into a disciplined saver. Have you ever reached the end of the month and wondered where your entire paycheck disappeared? Many people rely on budgeting apps that don't really change their habits. The Japanese, however, use a method called Shunyu Bukuro, the envelope system, that makes money tangible again. Even high-earning professionals in Japan use this approach. They divide their income into physical envelopes, one for housing, one for food, one for savings, and so on. When an envelope runs out, spending stops. It sounds almost too simple, but studies show that people using this system save 28% more than those who budget digitally. I used to think I was careful with money because I tracked everything in an app. Then a Japanese friend showed me his envelopes. Within 3 months of trying it, I realized I had been overspending by hundreds every month without noticing. Want to implement this yourself? Start by dividing your income into 6 envelopes. Housing, 35%. Food, 15%. Transportation, 15%. Savings, 20%. Entertainment, 10%. Miscellaneous, 5%. Adjust these percentages to fit your life. The crucial rule: never borrow from one envelope to cover another. When entertainment is gone, it's time for a movie night at home. Seeing your savings envelope grow is one of the most motivating feelings there is, but managing spending is only half the equation. Next, I'll show you how Japanese investors build wealth with strategies that are almost the opposite of what most Americans do. Have you ever wondered why so many people jump into stocks or crypto only to end up losing money? In America, the focus is often on timing the market and chasing hot trends. But Japanese investors take a different path, one that's built steady wealth for generations. Instead of gambling on short-term bets, they practice what's called steady stream investing. They prioritize simple, proven assets that generate consistent returns over decades. A Japanese mentor once told me, if you can't explain your investment to a 10-year-old, you probably shouldn't put your money into it. They avoid complicated financial products. Instead, they prefer broad index funds, dividend-paying stocks, real estate investment trusts, REITs. Their approach follows 3 rules. Think long-term, decades, not months. Focus on reliable income, not quick gains. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Here's a powerful example. Investing $500 monthly into an index fund averaging 8% returns can grow to over $500,000 in 25 years. That's the magic of patience. Want to start? Try the sleep test. Only invest in something if it won't keep you awake at night worrying. But the most important principle of all ties: everything together. It's what separates those who quietly build lasting security from those who only look wealthy on the surface. Have you ever seen someone driving a luxury car or living in a mansion and wondered if they were actually as wealthy as they seemed? In Japan, there's a concept called silent wealth, the opposite of the loud displays of success we often admire in America. Here's an incredible statistic. 80% of American millionaires drive modest cars and live in ordinary homes. This is exactly how wealth is viewed in Japan. While many people go into debt trying to appear rich, the Japanese focus on being rich. Real wealth doesn't need an audience. It quietly compounds, year after year, without the need for show. I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, I leased expensive cars and bought flashy watches to look successful. Then I met a Japanese businessman worth millions. He drove a Toyota and wore a simple Seiko. His wealth wasn't about image. It was about what he quietly invested in. Want to practice silent wealth? For the next 30 days before you buy anything, ask, am I getting this because I need it or because I want others to see me with it? Then redirect that money to your investments. Over time, you'll realize that true wealth doesn't crave attention. It grows best in the background. Which path will you choose? Showing off or building something lasting? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.